In the world of sportswear, there's a name redefining the game, a leader with a sharp vision for blending performance and style, taking a bold brand to new heights. Under his guidance, a celebrated lifestyle brand broke records and became the go-to choice for athletes and professionals alike, all while keeping a sharp eye on quality and innovation. A risk-taker, a pioneer, CEO of TravisMathew, Ryan Ellis.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffeez for Closers. Today we're at the TravisMathew Speakeasy, set to interview a powerhouse in lifestyle and apparel. He started as a very first employee at a company that began with golf apparel and helped to transform it into a full-scale lifestyle brand, now thriving in all major retailers and expanding into new markets like denim and women's wear. The leader has driven innovation, ensuring the highest quality by personally testing every product and guiding the brand toward a $500 million valuation. And now it's time to reveal the visionary behind the incredible success. Please welcome the long-awaited interview, the CEO himself, Mr. Ryan Ellis, CEO of TravisMathew. Thank you, Ryan, for being on the show.
You are my new hype man. I'm gonna have you do that everywhere I go. I come
man.
home, do it to my wife, show how great I am. I love it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great if we could just come home and tell our wives, like, look at the hype, look at the announcement that I'm getting as I enter the house.
I love it because I'm like, I don't, you call yourself humble, you're not humble, but I try to have humility, and I go through phases of my career where I feel like I'm doing a great job and I'm doing a terrible job, and so it's always funny hearing someone hype you up because it's like, am I really that?
Dude, you built one of the coolest companies. I mean, for men, the coolest apparel brand in the world, in my opinion.
And women's now, don't forget. We have
I know,
women's.
and we're going to talk about the women's line because
Okay.
the women's line is, in my opinion, much nicer than Vuori or Lululemon or any of the other Ath-Cash brands out there. So we're going to dive into it. I like to ask every guest on the show an opening question, and what is your morning routine?
Yeah, so I start with the wind down routine. You know, you and I know David Meltzer. It's funny, he has a very similar routine. I didn't get it from him, but I certainly listened up when he did it. But really, try to, as much as I can, get my phone down at 8:30 and turn it upside down, and don't look at it again. And then start that unwinding process. I go to sleep pretty early, so typically I wake up between 3:30 and 4. And the best thing I can do when I wake up, I jump right into the shower. I don't think, I don't check my phone. I check my phone for the time, and then I jump in the shower. And the mindless scrolling and things in the morning, it just gets you lost, and then you get out of bed tired. So to me, it's like, get right in the shower. That wakes me up. I'm on it. And once I hit, about 4:35, I'm firing on all cylinders. My, first 2 hours in the office, I get more done than the next 8, obviously meetings and things like that. But my brain is just functioning at a really high capacity those first 2 hours.
So you're coming into the office at 6 a.m. every day?
Generally get in closer to 5. I generally get up 3:30 to 4, shower, get in here, try to get in here before 5 if I can. I used to have a really good routine where I was getting in around 4, and I'd work from 4 to like 6:30, then I'd go work out, I'd shower, and then sort of the day starts when everybody comes in. I'd like to get back to the workout routine, but the business has been so tough to keep up with all the travel, that now try to be in before 5, get 3 hours of work before anybody wakes up or starts working.
You got a gym here. I mean, you don't even.
We do. I know. There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
Yeah,
There's
like
no
you got a
excuse.
great gym here.
Yeah.
Full-
It's less the gym. It's more the, when you travel, and I've been traveling a ton. It's so hard to keep your eating habits because everywhere you go, they don't have exactly what you need. You can't make your own food, and so once that starts to go, then it's like the working out starts to go. So I need to get back on the program for sure.
Now let's reverse course here. Now you started. Tell me a little bit about how you became the CEO of the #1 apparel brand for men on the planet.
Where do you want me to start? Like
Let's start
at
from
the
very
brand or from the beginning?
From the beginning.
So the shortest version I can give you at the beginning. My career is equally impressive and unimpressive in terms of I think I can give a lot of inspiration to people that I didn't come out of college with. I didn't go to a huge 4-year big school that had all this academic, accolades. I came out, I played basketball in college. I really had a competitive streak, learned how to win as a team. I thought I was the hero player my first couple years in college. then I realized I was more of a role player. And once I accepted that, I really thrived. And so it taught me, okay, if I can find my role in an organization, it doesn't have to be at the top. I can really grow and develop. And we ended up winning a national championship my senior year. I went to Concordia and Irvine. And so really solidified all that work I had put into basketball, all the sacrifice, really being much more worth it than being the leading scorer on a team that didn't do anything, right?
Were you a leading scorer on a basketball team?
I was my first year of college, and I was
amazing.
probably the fifth my senior year. But what happened my senior year is I led the nation in three-point percentage. I shot 50% on the dot and really specialized my craft instead of trying to be everything to everyone and be the go-to player. I really performed a really good role in that
You're
team.
like a Steph Curry.
More like a Klay Thompson. I wish I could say like a Steph Curry. I moved more like Klay. I didn't have the floaters from 20 feet and all the stuff that Steph does, but yeah, definitely more like Klay Thompson. So propelled me into my career. Didn't do an internship. I'd really never worked. I mean, I swept the floor at my dad's office here or there. Never worked. And I had an opportunity to work for my dad. Didn't really want to do that. Wanted to kind of carve my own path. He had of all things, he runs a termite company. It's a really small business. He made it really successful. Ran it 30 years. He's retired now. My sister actually runs the company now. And I just wanted to carve my own path. It wasn't something I was inspired by. And so I wanted to get into clothing. I knew throughout high school and college that's what I wanted to do. I had a couple ideas and concepts on retail stores that I wanted to implement. So I started my career in retail and said, I'm going to start from the ground up. If I want to do something in retail long term, I need to start in retail and get an entry level position. I started as a manager in training. I got promoted really fast, worked a lot. I ended up becoming the store manager for Abercrombie & Fitch in 2003. 3 months into the job, had never worked retail as a store manager, managing a $5 million store. It was like 10,000 square feet. We had like 85 mannequins. I became store manager. We didn't have an assistant. And so I had to go hire. Well, there's a time period to go hire, right? I worked 90 days open to close, my first 90 days. And I hired somebody, and she, God bless her, she's so sweet. She's 60 days in. She's not ready to open or close yet. And I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm 150 days open to close. I'm working. When people say they work 80 hours a week, I was working 95 hours a week. But I had just, and most people don't take that job seriously because it's like, well, where are you going to go? You're at Abercrombie. What's going to happen? But to me, it was like, this is my first chance to like prove myself in that world. So I'm just going to put everything I have into it. I was there 6 months, got promoted to a bigger store. We had a store opening in Cerritos Mall. Bigger store, more volume. It was like a $10 million store. And then I sort of went through that cycle. When a couple years later, I realized I just keep getting promoted in retail and they're never going to let me out of retail. Not that that's a bad job. I just had other aspirations. So I took a job for about a quarter of the pay to get on the other side of the business, say, I'm going to start all over and do it again and just showcase my skill set. Ended up becoming a sales manager of that company and eventually a sales and merchandising manager. I was 25 and then turned 26 and they shut the business down. It was an Australian-based business. We had a $5 million building. They were bleeding over there. They called me. We shut the building down. We want you to run retail for us. We're going to open more stores. I'm like, I came on this to get out of the retail business. And so met the guys at TravisMathew. It was like a volleyball game in Huntington Beach. And they were talking about this concept. And I'm like, golf, I'm in apparel. Golf apparel is not exciting. And they're like, exactly. Like, we have some ideas to make it exciting. And I'm like, I really didn't listen. And then they kept peppering me. And then about a month later, and I'm out of a job at this point too, but I had a lot of opportunities I was looking at. They called me a month later and said, why don't you do this? Here's a list of 20 accounts. Why don't you just call them or stop by and see what we're talking about? So I stopped in and I saw the white space, right? Like, whoa, there's nothing I would wear in this whole store. So there's a huge opportunity. How do we merge the gap between what people are wearing today and where we want them to go? How do we find something to start in the middle and really grow it? So in August of 2007, they hired me to run sales and merchandising. And then over the last 17 years, actually in July, or in August, excuse me, for me, our anniversary is 7/7/07. That's like the cute, but we really started the company in August. I think I've had 12 titles at the company. And so I started in sales, eventually ran sales and operations. Travis was very smart, could look from afar and go, hey, we got to get you out of operations. Like, it was something I actually enjoyed. If I was still in operations, I wouldn't be with the company anymore. I don't enjoy it as much anymore. And I like hiring people that are great at that to go do it. And so really started driving me into just brand driving, sales, marketing, product. And I really caught the the niche for product and started spending probably 50% of my time in product. And then I took over managing design. At one point I was managing, 70% of the business, but when I say managing, we had 20 people. So I was basically doing it all from, our buy planning, and I hit every piece of the cycle. So, I would help build it with the team. I would have to go sell it to our sales team. I would sell to our major customers, right? Then we'd go buy it and I would buy it. Then I would look through selling throughout the process. And then at the end of the cycle, I'm responsible for the inventory because I have to go off price it. So it's kind of a weird deal where normally you want a lot of checkpoints with your head of design or product, because it's who's making sure and validating that this stuff's actually good and they're not driving us off a direction just because they like something. But I had that at every point, right? I had my buyers doing that, I had my reps doing it, and at the end of the day, I was accountable for the inventory. So really taught me the whole business. And so as I elevated, and I never looked at myself, it's funny, I was president, and it took me 2 years to realize I was president. I became president in 2016, and I just watched how people were talking to me, and it was so different. And I always felt like I was just one of the people. And then I understood okay, I've got to elevate how I'm treating this business and how I'm treating people. Because when I say something, now it has a profound impact. As president of the company, when you say something, people really react to it. And because I just started as employee number one, Joey, our head of design, and I started at the same time, 1 and 2. It took me a while to transition to really understand that this role is very different. From a professionalism standpoint, from how you communicate, it has heavy weight on people, and so you have to transition and act differently. So, I was in president role for 4 years. Then the pandemic hit, and I always joke it's not the case. But Travis was here, you can have it. Everything's a mess. He actually owned at least 2 golf courses and had to attend to that business, and he'd been grooming me to take that role. But we had such a winning formula that I felt do I need to? I'm president of the company. I'm doing all the things I want to do. I'm really, controlling brand and product. What is the value of me going to CEO other than a title? I'm ambitious, but to me, Travis was dealing with the operational part of the business. And I thought, well, if I jump into ops and I'm doing that for 50% of my time, I'm not very good. They're not going to like me there because I'm going to be mixing it up. Is that really what I should do? And, sitting with the CEO of Topgolf Callaway, he said, absolutely, all CEOs are different, and I'm a product and brand driving CEO. That's what you'll be, and we'll go hire the staff together, to get you what you need.
So what was that transition like? I mean, from president to CEO, seems like the job description, wasn't too variant. You just had to you added the operations component. You were outside of the sales spectrum now. Now you're running ops, design. You were always running with the head of design. Yep. So it was just now, just Travis bounce and it's all on you now?
It's night and day. It's crazy. The way I would describe it, the best way I could describe it is, imagine trying to get somewhere and being the passenger in a car, right? Next time you go there, can you get there? Probably not, right? Imagine driving there. You can get there. You can find your way. So that's how big the gap is between president and CEO, at least how we were doing it, which is the accountability piece for me. It's not what it is today. What it was as president was I'm going to go make great product. I'm going to go service our customers. I'm going to build a great brand. But then, the people side of it, everything still falls on the CEO. I've got my org, but the whole thing, it's him. Every decision, they look to him. Every time you're at a company event, everyone wants to talk to you about their jobs and everything. And not that I wasn't having those conversations, but the weight of the CEO position versus president is night and day, as well as the interaction with the board and Topgolf Callaway and and then cross-functional leaders. The second you become CEO, everyone wants a one-to-one with you monthly. I can only do so many one-to-ones, right? But everyone wants a piece of that action because you're at the top of it and you've got an emerging brand. And so, there's equal parts credit and equal parts blame, for that position. So it changed for me very quick, the weight of how I have to think about this position, the responsibility I have to our people and our team. And ultimately, if we don't hit our numbers, it's on me. It's not on the team, it's on me. I have to figure that out. So it's a very different role.
Who did you appoint to be president after you departed?
It's a weird, I think at the size of our company, I don't know that a president and CEO makes sense. It made sense with Travis just because we had such different approaches, and I think he really wanted to empower me to say, hey, when I'm not here, Ryan's making the decisions. We've got a chief marketing officer who's phenomenal, who would be pretty similar to the role I was in, more on the marketing side than the product side. And then we've got a CFO who's fantastic, who actually manages ops for me, funny enough. And so I've got an incredible leadership team, but those two really stand out as leaders that have kind of elevated into higher positions where, will one of them become a president and eventually CEO? I think they both absolutely have the capability. At the size of the business we're at, I don't think there's necessarily need to have a president.
CEO, then what would that leave you?
What's that
for you? You'd be the next Travis.
Well, I think you're always thinking about if you have good people under you, you're always looking at what's their next opportunity, and you need to be thinking about yours. And the opportunity is, if I elevate, do they elevate? And they can't elevate until I can, or I get let go. There's only two options there, right? And so we have a big organization at Topgolf Callaway, so there is opportunity to go up. But I think for me, I'm having a blast. I've been CEO now 4 years. And so, I am thinking about that for them, though. What is their next step, and making sure I'm not impeding that step for them.
So what would be the ideal next step for you? If you were to envision a next step, you're already the CEO of the #1 apparel brand on the planet. Like, where's up from here?
So when you build your long range plans for a business, we have a plan to 2030. The plan is a 3-year plan. 2030, it's right? I mean, we have a vision of where we want to go, what we want to get. For us to get within 10% to what 2030 looks like will be very difficult, because it's a changing climate, changing market. We have to adapt and change with it. For me, I got my sights on $1 billion. I don't have a date to it, but I want to get this company to $1 billion. I'm absolutely committed. And because I don't have $1 billion in revenue.
$1 billion in revenue.
Billion in revenue.
Quarterly or monthly?
Quarterly and monthly. What? I think, what are we, Lululemon? What are they doing? 10 billion? No, I want to get to $1 billion. Annually.
That's
yeah,
annual.
$1 billion. Now you got me to 10. See, you got me all twisted.
Why are we stopping at $1 billion?
Yeah.
I mean, you're dominating.
Well, maybe when we get closer to $1 billion, I'll have a new goal then. But no, it's such a, I don't know how many apparel companies are at $1 billion. I would guess, in our relevant space, there's less than 25. So it would be at such a pedestal to get to $1 billion, especially being primarily North America. It's a lofty number, but it's achievable for us, and I'm committed to driving to those goals. Post that, I don't see myself more. It's possible, things change. I'd like to help other businesses. I think I offer a lot to dive into a business that's probably in the $10 to $100 million range, even up to 200, 300. There's a lot of pitfalls you can avoid. There's a lot of little nuances. There's a lot of structuring things within the business. I think I would see myself long-term probably, in some type of role like that, helping other businesses.
I didn't know that you guys were just captive to just North America. I mean, golf is global. No,
we're not captive. We're building a European business that's growing pretty substantially. We've got a really nice business in Japan. We've got 4 stores in Japan, 2 in Tokyo. 1 in Yokohama, 1 in Osaka. So spend a ton of time there. It's fantastic. We're building a business in Korea that we just launched this year. We've got, obviously, North America. We've got a booming Canadian business. We've got a great business in Australia. And we've got some business in South America. Most of the international business is a little bit more golf focused, because that's kind of how we started here. It takes time. But yeah, we see in that long-term plan, international will be, a little over 10%.
Now, TravisMathew is synonymous with golf apparel, but really, you guys, it's apparel for any sport, really. But is there any other derivative of sports that you want to dominate besides golf? I know you guys obviously surf.
Yep.
Skate.
Yeah, I don't think there's a sport we want to dominate. I think we live in this active lifestyle space, or athleisure space, whatever you want to call it. We live as a lifestyle brand in active. So when you think about our competitors, the Nikes, the Adidases, the Vioris, they're very, very athletic. So we live in that space with that same person, which is multifunctional wear, but we live on the casual side of that. So no, I think we want to play almost everywhere, right? We've signed ambassadors from MLB, NBA, NFL, and some prominent ones. We've even signed actors. And so I think we're pretty well diversified. We don't want to kind of be everything to everyone, but we're close to that. We want to play in most sports, but I don't think there's a particular sport that we're driving and saying, hey, we want to dominate like golf. We're really proud of our roots in golf, but we think like the brand is bigger than sport, and so we want it to be a full lifestyle brand.
Yeah, I mean, as an cash brand, it's phenomenal. You know, I don't even know of any other men's clothing that has not just it's cash, but it's also clothes you could wear to church.
Yep.
It's clothes you could wear to like a wedding. It's clothes you continue to come out with new concepts for athleisure that are like just next level. Like I'm wearing TravisMathew pants, and they're the Reggie Bush line.
Looking sharp.
Yeah, and it's tucked in with a shirt, and it's a jogger.
But that's where we're going. Like to your point, I feel confident we've nailed that space.
Yeah.
But what we've done with our customers, we've led him, and now leading her to say like, we've got his comfort level. Now we need to push it. So like Reggie's a great example of like when we signed Reggie on, it's like, hey, the reason we want to do this, we want to collab with you. If you're not interested in collabing, it's probably not the right fit. And he was more than interested in collabing, and like how he's put his outfits together showcases a totally different way to wear TravisMathew and a totally different look. A lot of it, like he would wear that with a monochrome top, right? With a hat that matches and probably shoes that match, and really style it out in a very different way. And so, we really have the trust of our customer, and now they're saying more. Give me more, give me new, give me fresh, and that's the big focus as we move forward to 25 and beyond is like, really disrupting kind of our current mix while keeping the core similar.
I mean, you don't want to get a mortgage line where you can get all the mortgage professionals. So there's a lot of people trying to enter apparel space right now. What's the best piece of advice you would give someone who wants to enter the apparel space right now?
Well, I would say hurry up first, because we're not in a recession, but whatever you want to call this, it's a really challenging time right now for the apparel market. We're seeing the active and athleisure space, over the past, 2-3 months. We get all the earnest data and things like that. They're down, close to 30% year over year in their own direct consumer.
Why do you think that is?
Customers not spending. It's conversion. It's spend. We saw in March of last year, bank accounts dried up. All that incremental income they had is gone.
But everybody buys TravisMathew on credit card. It's just going on a credit card that they're not going to pay anyways.
You know what? That's funny because the cash spending is way down this year too. We're seeing that, right? They are putting on a credit card. No, what we're seeing is a lot more looky-loos. The brand heat is still there, so we're seeing where mall traffic is down 5-8%, we're still seeing increases of 2-3% in mall traffic for us in TravisMathew stores, but we're seeing conversion down like 10%. Now, they are trading up sometimes for better items like jackets and outerwear and things like that, but what we're seeing is the off-price channel is really thriving right now, and the full-price channel is struggling, and we're in all the major retailers from Nordstrom to DSG and all that, and we see the data from them as well, and it's the data we can see. And no, the trend's consistent. It's consistently down, and the customer's trading down for price, and they're only purchasing when they have either a sale or there's a Reggie Bush type item that's very, very special. We launched our MLB collection and had a ton of success out of the gate. But what's interesting is we didn't see a lot of incremental revenue on our own e-commerce, even though that drove a ton of revenue. They traded out of something else for that collection. So back to the original question. If you're starting a company today, I would say go now, because all the bigger companies, there's only a couple TravisMathews and Vuoris that are like doing well and can sit through a difficult time. But there's going to be a lot of open space from some of the bigger brands, because they're going to have to, where you're seeing it, layoffs and all these things are happening. The line's getting cut. Nike, is coming out of golf for the most part. And so there's a great opportunity right now. And I would also say to up-and-coming companies, don't ignore the wholesale channel. The wholesale channel is amazing, and I think everyone wants to start their direct-to-consumer business. Well, the cost per click now is 5 times what it was, 8-10 years ago. It's not the same market where you just prop up a website and you just start advertising and sell. The cost per acquisition is really, really high. So why would you not partner with a wholesale partner that can help get you free brand awareness, and actually you make money off them as well?
But social media and stuff is driving down some of that cost. I mean, because you could market all over all the different social media platforms to drive eyeballs outside of like cost per click.
And iOS updates have hurt that. People can, the privacy agreements are different now. And so it's just not the same game. And so you evolve with the game. We're a very fortunate business in that, e-commerce is roughly close to 1/5 of our business. So we're not dependent on e-commerce to go hit our numbers or grow our brand. We've got incredible wholesale partners that do that. We've got a corporate partner who does corporate staffing and outfitting who does a fantastic job. We've got diverse national accounts with the Nordstroms that are purely lifestyle, the DSGs that are like sporting goods, and then the PGA Tour Superstore that's golf. And so we've set this business up purposely to be really well balanced. So when one channel goes up, one channel goes down, it evens out. And so we're not relying on one customer, one channel.
Now, how is like margin compression with like cost of labor, cost of goods, cost of gas to get this stuff over here? How has that impacted the profitability of TravisMathew over the last couple of years?
It has, because we didn't take price because we're really mindful of the end consumer and kind of what we feel like the price thresholds are. So it put a little bit of pressure on us, and then we were able to come up with more premium products that fit into those price points. But you manage it like everything else, right? It's like we have a very sophisticated year-long process. That's our long-range planning process and our go-to-market process, that all those things are factored in as we go. The one thing I'll tell you is, that was a huge issue in 22 when the price of cotton was going nuts, everything was expensive, but everyone was crushing it. So the price, it didn't really matter because you made a little less margin, but you went and sold 3 times more than you thought. Things are stabilizing a bit just on the manufacturing front. Costing is coming back to normal. The price of cotton's back to 2019 levels. Things are coming back to normal. Freight has come we crushed our budget on freight because we had such a high freight budget because it was so high, and it's dropped considerably. And so things are normalizing. Factory capacities are normal. So, inflation's what it is, right? So our line and pricing has gone with inflation, probably a little less than inflation. So generally our margin structure today is, our margins are better today than they were 2 years ago just because the volume is so much higher. So we're getting that consistency with volume with our factories. And then, we have a lot of leverage because of our brand. And so we can utilize that leverage to say, now, obviously, employee costs, all that goes up, but it's all part of the planning process. Nothing's happened other than, that big shift in 22 that we haven't been able to manage.
Like, I'll use the heater as an example. One of the signature shirts, it's like hasn't really went up too much in the last couple of years. It's always been like $60.
And one of the big things with heaters that's been really cool is we changed the fabrication to an eco-friendly fabric, and that's been a big initiative of ours. What's tough about eco is, every garment that you do eco, for the most part, it's going to cost you another 50 cents to $1. So heater was a huge win for the company, where we're able to take a sustainable fabric in one of our core pieces, which is hard to do, to up that cost, and yet keep the price the same and everyone's making good margin on it. So just one of those fortunate things where we found an incredible fabric at the right price, and obviously we hit a volume and have a great partner overseas that's given us the pricing we need to make that volume.
Hopefully, what about acquiring those facilities yourself? Like, do you guys have any fabric distributors that you guys own, or you guys are all relying on third parties?
I think that gets really tricky. I think sometimes you gotta look. There was a time at TravisMathew where we tried to own everything. Like, we had our own warehouse. We did everything ourselves. And I think as you get bigger, it's like you're better off specializing. Like, it's a distraction. What would happen was, and I was actually talking to another apparel company who's thinking about buying theirs, and I just warned them because they're at like the 40 million range in revenue. And I said, what I'd warn you of, it all sounds good, but is it really cheaper than 3PLing? And if you 3PL, how much headache does it? You're talking about warehousing. Do you want to take on 80 employees? 80 more employees? And that's not a job where the employee is like the most satisfied employee. Like, they're trying to work into other jobs most of the time. And so, to me, it's like, keep the eye on the prize. We have so much here to go grab. Let's just keep going for it.
Now, what do you think, when you became CEO, what do you think the biggest sacrifice is that you made to become CEO of TravisMathew?
That's a good question. Probably my personal life, to be honest with you. I think, you really have time for family, and you have time for work, and there's just not much other time. Like, it's really interesting. My wife and my family were out of town a couple weeks ago, and it was the first time they've been out of town, I feel like, ever. And I was like, what am I going to do with myself? Like, I never think about, like, hey, let's have a guys' night, or let's go, let me call my buddy and go do this or do that. It's like, you have to sacrifice that piece. To me, it's like family comes first always, work comes second, and then whatever the rest of it is what it is. in this job to be successful. I'm sure some people do that well. It's not for me. I wouldn't feel right about not dedicating the appropriate time to both the other places. But it's not really a sacrifice for me because I get to hang with my family. I get to do a lot of fun stuff with work. I have great people and friends here at work, and it's like, it's a sacrifice, but it's not one that I sit back and go, oh, I wish I didn't have to do that. I love it.
Yeah, it's like you're living like a dream. Getting to travel, getting to make the coolest apparel, getting to meet amazing people. Who are some of the most amazing people you met? I mean, Chris Pratt is like on speed dial for you. Like,
I'd say the coolest one we've ever met is Mark Wahlberg. We went to Mark's house and got to spend half a day with him. And one of the coolest dudes ever. And just, I won't repeat anything he said because he just went straight from the cuff and he was like totally real and just he wasn't a guy that you went, oh, he's holding back on us because like he might get in trouble or he might do this. Not that he said anything bad, but it was just more like he's sharing old stories of him and Leo hanging out and this and that. And then we walk up in his backyard's just giant and he's got this, he's got like 3 golf holes back there and you walk up these steps and he's got this target mat and he hits off it and then he hit driver into the mountain. It's just the most insane thing. So Mark is definitely, I don't get starstruck, so I'm not like nervous around him, but I was definitely like driving home like with a big smile on my face. That was freaking awesome.
That's awesome. You went to his house in Vegas?
No, in LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's in Vegas now.
Yeah.
So, but
is he still in Vegas?
Yeah.
I thought he's still in LA. I think he's in LA because he plays golf like every morning at 5, and maybe he's moved, but this was I probably met with him like maybe 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he since started his own brand. So that was some of the conversation we were having about giving him some insights on, apparel.
Golf brand or apparel brand?
Apparel brand.
Just to tie
called
into
Municipal.
like F40. Dude, he's got so many companies.
The one thing I'll tell you, I follow him on Instagram, and he is a plugger. He plugs everything. Every Instagram post is like, check out my underwear, check out my shoes. It's pretty funny.
My new gym.
Give the guy credit. He's got tons of followers, and they're interacting with the content, and he's plugging his stuff. He's one of the best in the world at it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't act forever. When you became CEO, like, what do you think the best piece of advice is that you received?
That should be an easy question for me. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's like one piece of advice because I've kind of like, you've heard most of my career, I kind of blazed my trail. That's why I kind of laugh when people are like, well, my boss doesn't this. It's like, go get it, right? And that's kind of always been my approach is go get it. So I've been more like, I'm going to go seek feedback, but also like, I can do this. And I've always been on, I'll figure it out, right? I have a tight circle, 6-8 people I trust. I go to those people with all of those things. I get all the right responses and I form my own opinion, which doesn't match any of them. It just matches kind of my line of thinking. And so that's served me so well that, I've thought about having a coach and all that, but, this has served me so well and we're thriving. So that I like blazing the trail my own way. So I don't think there was one piece of advice anyone gave me. I think it was more like, 6 to 8 people especially I took over in 2020. Pandemic hits, we're shut down. No one can come to the office. I mean, it was a nightmare from that perspective of like, I don't know if the company's going out of business tomorrow and we're gonna be shut down for a year. I don't know if I'm gonna have to let 100 employees go tomorrow. So it was like, you had to have a good circle of people going, and no one had experienced that. So it's like, who do I go to, you go to Callaway and they're like every big company, they have a big company playbook. Here's what you do during pandemic, but that's not me. I'm not going to take that playbook and go, okay, we just do this. There's some of that we have to do, but what I did was I started like over communicating. So I started every week I would send a video, either of me talking through what's happening in the business so everyone could stay informed, or we would have our videographers like professionally shoot a video that was funny. One of the videos was great. It was like, remember when no one could get toilet paper? That was like a thing. And I had found I was the only one coming in here. And I found a stash of toilet paper of like, I don't know how many rolls. And so we actually sent every employee toilet paper and did a video on it, like just being funny. And we sent them like our designer designed like a coloring book just for their kids because you're at home, you can't do anything. So it's a super, super cool deal. So we totally took our own approach and, did we do it perfectly? No. But like because of that approach, it was so authentic to us. Like our people, that's our culture. It really resonates in our people of like, we're not going to be robots. Like when I do something like this, we're going to be off the cuff, but we're going to be off the cuff within some parameters to stay professional. But at the end of the day, like this is what people expect from us. Like our culture is going to be, we're going to go get it.
Now, one thing I admire about you, Ryan, is that you became CEO of this company. Is there any characteristics that one must have right now to really climb the corporate ladder and dominate?
Yeah, I mean, the number one characteristic is adaptability, right? Like that got me functionally through and navigated. And if I, were to go to another company, become CEO, that would be the number one trait. It would be, okay, who is the team? What is the company? Okay, now I need to start adapting my behaviors to match what the company needs. So what I do for executive onboarding is, I tell them you're not making any decisions the first 120 days because the biggest mistake you can make, and I've made it, is you hire someone and you've needed that position for so long and then you just start running. They're going to screw everything up because they don't know your people, they don't know your culture, they don't know your brand. And so number one trait is adaptability to say, when you come into a situation that you're unfamiliar with or you're not an expert, because you're not an expert, even if I'm the CEO of TravisMathew. If I jump to another company that's 400 million, there's still a lot of expertise I don't have in who their brand is. So I need to listen, I need to learn, formulate a plan with the team, and then I would say be decisive, right? If you're adaptable, you've got your group, you're comfortable with your decision making, when you make it, people want you to be decisive. They don't want you to make it and go, oh, but what do you think about it? You should have already asked what I thought about it. You've already come to a conclusion. So ask the people, come to the conclusion and go, here's where we're going, and be confident in it, knowing that not every decision is perfect, but as long as you follow that process, you're going to be really happy with the results.
Now, I'm a CEO as well, and to your point, decisiveness is like imperative, especially in my organization. How fast do you have to decide being the CEO? Like, is it on the spot?
Okay, so I'm like extreme extrovert. So I think out loud, I talk out loud. I can come to a conclusion on most things extremely fast. I'll come to the conclusion before you wake up. Put it that way, right? I'm up at my 4. I'm in the office. I've probably asked the people that I know are up at that time, and it's like I've already sent the email. Here's what we're doing, and you're just waking up. So that's how quick I move now. We have a pretty robust executive team now, and so what you have to be careful of is you need to get inputs, right? As much as just because I'm decisive doesn't mean I'm right. And so, you do need to bring the team along for the ride. But when you do bring the team along for the ride, I did this with our company goals. And it was just dragging. And I just said, hey, guys, I'm going to do these. We're all having a lot of conversation. They need to get done. They should have got done yesterday. I'm going to do them. I appreciate all the inputs. I'll put them down. And I think there's a respect level to that because it's like, I'm sure in their heads, like, yeah, we couldn't get this to the finish line as a team. Rarely happens, but when it does happen, you step up and go, I'll finish it. And I guarantee you those goals were done in like an hour. And it probably took 4 weeks leading up to that to get there. And it's like, okay, we can't figure it out as a team. Someone's got to do it. Let's go.
Now, you're coming from humble roots, right? You grinded to become CEO.
Still grinding.
And still grinding.
I love it.
And one thing you and I both have are kids. And one thing I always focus on with my kids is like, I wasn't handed anything.
Yep.
Right? I had to grind like crazy. Like I was, grinding since I was like 8 years old. How are you instilling that same level of grit and mindset that you have in your kids?
It's hard. It's really hard because, my dad was really tough on me. So then my tendency is like, I start going down that road and I'm like, ooh, ease up, dude. You know how that felt on you, so chill out a little bit. So I think that part of it's hard. I think the biggest way, that I've seen, and my kids are old enough now, is athletics. I think athletics are so important. Not necessarily you have to play college or whatever, but that really teaches you that discipline. And so my son, he plays travel basketball, so he's got practice Thursdays and Fridays, and then I have him training on Wednesdays and Saturdays for basketball, and then sometimes
How old is he?
11.
Man, he's grinding.
Yeah.
But see, that's how he learns.
He's grinding. Well, he's also in jiu-jitsu Monday, Wednesdays. So we've got him booked, and he enjoys it. Like what we've done, this isn't like Ryan put him in basketball. No, we played baseball, we played football, we did it all. And then he says, baseball's too boring, I want to play. And he was a great baseball player. And I said, okay, so if we're not going to play, what do you want to play? I want to play basketball. Okay.
I'm coming.
But if we're going to play basketball, you and I, we're going to have a handshake commitment here. We're going after it. So that means the days you were playing baseball, we're playing basketball. So now we're going to go from 2 days a week to 4, potentially 5. Is that what you want to do? Yes. Good. We signed up for it, and I'll remind him of that. And I do remind him of that when he's having an off day with basketball. Hey, I get it, buddy, but like we signed up for this. We're going to practice. Like this is the commitment we need to make. You made the commitment. We're going to live up to the commitment. My daughter's easy. She plays travel volleyball. She went from swimming, amazing. She's super tall. She's 5'9.5" at 13. She's played travel softball. Was an incredible swimmer, like backstroke with the long arms. But it was an individual sport, so like baseball for my son, she just didn't want to do it. So we made the commitment we're going to do volleyball, which we kind of knew we wanted to get to with her anyway. My wife played college volleyball, and she's got 4 days a week practices, tournaments that have like 8 games, and she's more like me. My son is happy-go-lucky, and he's like master, jack of all trades, maybe not master of none. Like he's just great at everything, but he wants to jump. She's like locked in on volleyball. It's all she talks about. She gets done with her season. She's like, I want to talk to you about like what I'm going to do next year, and here's what I'm thinking. And then she's locked in. So I don't have to worry about her. I don't have to worry about my son either. He's an incredible kid, but a little bit on the discipline piece to say, hey, we're sticking with this. We committed to it.
At what age did you make him commit to basketball?
Just a year ago. So yeah, he had
10 years old.
10 years old. We made the commitment. Yeah, it's a little. Again, you see, he's been playing baseball since he was 3. So you see all the crazies, and it's like, and I've seen kids from 3 to 10, and I've seen the 5-year-olds that are dominant, that at 10 they're just caught up to, and it's like, give the kids a life. I mean, they only get one chance to be 5. Like let's not have them, But they're at 10, 11. The lights are on. They know what's going on, and it is time now to start teaching them like real discipline. And look, we're gonna have our times to be a kid, but we're also gonna like have some times that we start learning what serious things are.
Yeah, and you're right. Athletics do teach that to kids really young, and it is of paramount importance for parents to make sure that their kids are locked in on sports.
And he's going in on 12 in October, so not to scare anybody out there that's like, well, 10, really? Really for me it was almost 11, and now he'll be 12 in October.
Awesome. Now, as CEO of TravisMathew, do you have any big fears?
Oh, a million. Yeah, I mean.
What's the biggest?
Failure.
That's not a possibility with TravisMathew.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fears with TravisMathew are staying relevant as we age, right? So like I came into the business at 26. So pretty good perspective on like young people, what's cool, all that. And then, 43 now. And, luckily I've got kids that are keeping me young. But at the end of the day, like I don't want our customer aging with me, right? Like if our target's 30 to 55, I don't want it tomorrow to be 31 or in a year to be 31 to 56 and then 32. I mean, you saw that with Tommy Bahama, how they kind of just
aged out.
Had a great deal, but then they just kept aging out, and pretty soon, like it's not appealing for a 25-year-old guy, for the most part, to wear what a 7-year-old guy wants to wear, because a 7-year-old guy is not thinking about style. He's like, I just want to wear something comfortable. Like, I don't really care how it looks. Like, just give me something comfortable. So I think that's probably the biggest fear that I think we overcome pretty well, because we have it in the forefront of our minds all the time. We're always thinking about that when we're building product and building marketing and all that. But that would probably be the biggest fear, is that we age out, because we're in such a sweet spot for that guy right now. That's like, if we can stay in that lane, a billion's coming.
And how are you like overcoming that fear? Like, how are you staying so relevant to the youth?
Well, I think one, bringing in more creative people that have a better perspective in both marketing, in product, on youth, right? So it's bringing the right people in. I think it's
Reggie Bush. That line was like, hit the youth.
Killed it, yeah. And in doing that, like finding the right ambassadors that really represent the brand the right way. We've got, if you think about retail, 56 retail stores. We've got an extremely youthful staff there, and just in general, the TravisMathew team is very young. So. We do a lot of company surveys and things like that. We do a lot of market research. So it's just a topic that's forever on mind. And the one thing we do obsessively too is we shop. We shop like crazy, and we're always looking for what's in the market. And again, it's not Ryan shopping. Like I shop a lot. We've got a team of, now we've got, 25 designers and, between PLM and merch, 15 merchandisers. And then, so we've got a really robust team that all are out there bringing and presenting new ideas. So that's the key, is like, as much as we have a formula on what works, is allowing the ideas to flow free, and then the team collectively agreeing which ideas work.
Now, having been running the company since 26, now you're 43, that's 17 years?
Yep.
What do you think the biggest hurdle is that you've overcome in that time frame?
The biggest hurdle was for sure the start. We were, it's an interesting story. We probably like a year in, and it was just Joey, our designer, and myself. And what was tricky is we had Travis Brasher, who was working at Seacliff Country Club as a pro because we couldn't afford him yet. He was kind of running financials. But it was ship without a captain, because I wasn't the captain. I was busy trying to get orders. I was getting orders, putting them in the system, shipping them. There was no 1 year, 2 year planning. What are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? I'm just like, I gotta sell more stuff, right? We gotta make more product. And so our investor was very wishy-washy on the brand at the time, as he should be. He's investing his money, and it's, we were doing, I think $500,000, halfway through our second year. And, Travis was a little unsure about me and about, where this is going. He didn't work inside with me, so we didn't have a relationship at the time. We ended up developing an incredible relationship. And so I think our investor was very close to saying, this was fun, got to make golf clothing for a year. I don't want to put any more money in this. And I was getting that sentiment because I could feel it through Travis of like, this is not going well. And I kept telling Travis, you've got one salesperson, me. We had a wholesale business. We didn't even have e-commerce at the time. To go do $500,000, the average order is like $2,500. You know how many doors I've had to kick down to do that? Like, that's great success. And I'm showing them sell-through stories. It's actually selling too. It's not just me. You guys, made a product that I've cut up and chopped and sold to a customer that's actually, we've got something here. It's not perfect. Our investor's next door neighbor comes to his house, head to toe TravisMathew. Has no idea he's the founder of TravisMathew. Knocks on his door. Whatever his name. What's going on? I wanted to tell you, I just got this outfit from TravisMathew. This is the best golf brand ever. Again, we were pretty much golf at the time. I love it, and just rants and raves. And it's just the stroke of luck in life that happens. And then he comes in, I don't know if it's a day, the story's better if it's a day, but a day or a month or, 2 months later, and sits Joey and I down, is like, gave us some additional ownership, said he appreciate what we're doing. He's like, we're going. Cut $1 million check. And that was it. But I promise you that it was teetering. It could have easily. The neighbor comes over and says that stuff sucks. I don't know what happens. But it is funny little things like that where probably the outside person's thinking really one guy, but that's kind of what it takes. Like, how random is that your neighbor comes over and tells you how great something is, has no idea you're involved. Like, you're onto something, dude. Like, this is a real thing. Like, we just got to invest more in it. And then I immediately, with that money, hired a sales team, and then it, started going. So that would be, we've been lucky. I mean, that and the pandemic, if you take those out, I wouldn't have said at year 2 there's going to be a $1 billion company or even a $100 million company, but like we've had slow and steady success, and we haven't pushed too hard. And so I think we had a 8 or 9 year streak. We grew between 30 and 50% every year. So just a model of consistency and not pushing too hard. I give Travis all the credit for that. He was a little bit more of a stop sign guy, and I'm like, green light, let's go. Like, I want to grow. And he did a great job of slowing us down in times we could have done a lot more to grow at the appropriate speed.
When were those times you could have grown a lot more?
Probably 14 to 19, somewhere in that range. 2014 to 2019, the brand was super hot. And we could have gone harder on retail, and we should have, but it's when it's your money, retail's so scary. It's could be up to $1 million for a build out. You hope for a 3-year payback. That's just payback. In a single investor company that doesn't have all the money in the world, it's a scary proposition. So it probably should have looked for outside funding to grow retail. We could have grown a lot faster and could have got probably a lot bigger valuation when we sold. And then, I just, opportunity to hire quicker. we had an independent rep model that Travis and I had a really good 3-day session, and we realized we need to hire company reps. The independent rep model isn't working for us. Well, they're expensive, and you have to pay for their sample lines, you have to pay for their travel. So we did it very slowly. Like we started one in SoCal, and it worked really well. So like a year later, we hired 3 more, and then eventually we got to, now we have 35 company reps. But you can imagine that process was meticulous versus, hey, let's go do 10. Everything was built on ROI in the company, up until probably I took over. And we still, for the most part, do that. But it's like, if we can't showcase getting our money back and getting it back quickly, we're not going to do it. So it wasn't just Travis put stop signs. I think he was speaking for the investor of and I think it was appropriate. Again, even Travis, I don't think in 2017 would be like, this is going to be a $400 million brand. Like, I think we all had sights on could we get it to $100 million, right? Like that was what our sight was on. So, I'm not a look back guy and go, man, I wish we could have done this different. Here we are today, right? So
now you're on track to do $1 billion, but now the brand has more global recognition. Obviously, it's a huge national brand. If you surveyed people and you walk down the street, have you heard of TravisMathew? 1 out of every 2 does. I've been doing it.
That's great. That's great. You know how much opportunity is out there?
Exactly.
If we have 50% of people, we still got to hit.
Brand.
Well, 50% don't though.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
A lot of growth there.
But the fact that many do, I feel like now's your opportunity to really grow, because now you can really dominate the market. It's like if you were doing that kind of trajectory for the last couple of years, it's go mode now more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue the Northeast is still a little bit of a challenging spot in terms of brand awareness. A little less there.
There's nowhere to golf there.
In the Northeast?
Yeah.
They've got every private club you can ever imagine in the Northeast.
But they're private, but it's not as big because of the weather. It's not like it.
Oh, it's seasonal, yeah, for sure. But it's golf is big out there, and there's a lot of opportunity. And naturally, being a West Coast brand that doesn't make it to the Northeast much, it's coming and it's slowly getting there. But I 100% agree with you. The analogy I always use, or not an analogy, but I always say, if I knocked on 100 doors of our guy's house, and there's a man in our range, right, which is, I call it 18 to 80, he would look good in TravisMathew.
Yeah.
There's very few houses that you would say, no, I think we hit them all. So what does that mean? That means, there's beyond. I mean, you look at what Lululemon does in men's. And no disrespect to Lulu, I think they do a fantastic job. But our men's line is far superior to Lululemon's men's. They have the reach of her. And so that's propelling our men's business, because guess what's happening? She's buying for him. She's going home, and then because I see him, he comes to my office and he goes, oh, my wife bought me these Lululemon pants. Look, they have stretch. And I'm like, you've known about our brand for 17 years. We invented making pants with stretch. And you just learned this right now, but there's a lot of guys that aren't savvy out there. And that's why, women's is equally exciting. I think we've put such a good foot forward with the women's line, and it's her line and it's her own, but I do believe she's going to shop for him in interest to a lot of customers that man is maybe not going to a retail store, and he's not, getting served an ad and going and shopping on your website.
That's where you guys need ambassadors, is women's lines. Big, and it should be I'm seeing it for me, as a creator now, you should get a famous TikToker, female.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have Molly Sims.
Charlie D'Amelio or something to rock it.
Yeah. Well, the one thing you learn about women's is because they move the needle, they are expensive. So and honestly, some of the in with us on the men's side with ambassadors, a lot of the men we get, like Chris Pratt, they love to golf. And so they're so into golf, and they think our brand is the coolest brand in golf, and then they see it translates out, and it's like, I'm already wearing it every day, how do we just make something official here? Because I'm going to promote it whether you give me something or not. And we've had really cool organic relationships. Little different on the women's side, right? So we're figuring that nuance out, and again, thinking...
Some women golf.
They do. No, they do. And we went pretty hard after a female golfer who won 5 times, I think at least 5 times this year, who's fantastic. And we were close, but unfortunately didn't get that done. But we're going to continue to look, and absolutely, I think we're doing the micro influencer strategy. We have a heavy influencer strategy. That's absolutely women are following that, and we're listening. I mean, that's the big thing with women's is I have a whole entire women's team, and it's 95% women. And so that's the exciting thing about women's too. It's me letting go a little bit. I'm letting them create and be creative. and really listen to her and not have me jump in and go, I think we know what we should do with her, right? Like I have, some impact on that team, but in general, that team's running it, and it's a female-driven team, so they understand that customer really well.
That's awesome. Now, I got a couple last questions for you. The first one is a personal question, but it's a three-pronged question.
Whoa.
Okay, it's about goals. What's a personal goal that you have for yourself, a business goal that you have for TravisMathew,
Yep.
and a family goal that you have for the family?
And the personal goal can't be family. My personal goal is to try to make, it's funny because I'm contradicting myself, but my personal goal is definitely to try to make more time for more people outside of my family and outside of work. I think it's to even my greater family I would put in that mix, like not my immediate family, my wife and kids. They see plenty of me, they're sick of me. But yeah, I think a goal for me is to really probably sit back at some point in the next few months and really write down who are the people I want to make sure I get those consistent touch bases with? Who are the people I want to make sure we're having a dinner here or there, and that I keep close contact rather than just if I get a text from them, I reply back to them, right? It's what are the important relationships in my life that I really want to keep? So that would be the personal goal. The business goal, we already said $1 billion, so I'm not going to say $1 billion. I think the business goal would be, I'd like to grow 4 or 5 directors at our company to VP. I think that's a huge jump. It really takes you from a really strong position to write your ticket position wherever you want to go. And so I don't think we've done a good enough job doing that. We've hired externally most of our VPs, and we've had, there's I think 3 or 4 of us that have been promoted internally, but that's happened 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, I'd really like to elevate and really support 3 or 4 of our current directors at some point to get to VP level, because it's just such a meaningful position. But we've got 1 million business goals, so that's one of many. And then, what was the last one? Family goal?
Yeah, family goal.
I haven't thought about that one. Again, probably businesses, I probably got 50. To narrow it down to one family goal would be tricky. I think, it's not really a goal, but just consistency, I think is critical with family. It's just as my kids are getting older, now they have friends, right? And it's a different world of I think we're letting them kind of go where they want when they want. And I think we need to create a little more consistency as a family of hey, here's, I hate the family time, because my dad did that and it was always annoying, and I didn't like it, because it's if you say, hey, on Sunday we're all hanging out as a family. But I do think there's a little bit of that has validity to say, hey, we're going to be busy all summer, but here's the things we want to do together, and make sure that we get that appropriate time together. Because I think as the kids get older, it gets a little trickier. 2 years ago, they just wanted to hang on my side and we did everything together. And now it's I'm trying to give them their space to do their things, but we need that time to bond together. These are really important years from 11 years old to 17 years old. This is kind of molds them into who they're going to be.
Awesome. My last question, and I ask everybody this question. When you're in front of the pearly gates, what do you think God's going to tell you?
Settle down. You can relax now. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. You can slow it down 2 notches up here. We're not moving at that pace.
That's awesome. I love high performers. They're just poof,
yeah.
go mode. God bless you, man. It was awesome to have you on the show. I appreciate what you're doing with TravisMathew. I appreciate the relationship we have. It's been awesome. I love coming here and getting the TravisMathew discounts at headquarters. It's just
Don't tell everyone.
That's only for exclusive people.
VVIPs only.
Yeah, that know the CEO of TravisMathew directly, so it's not open to the public.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, bro.
All right, thank you. That was great. Appreciate it.
TravisMathew, CEO, Ryan Nelson. If anyone wants to get in touch with you for any reason, is there a way to get in touch with you on social?
No, there's not. I'm private. You're a CEO of a company. You keep it private.
All right, cool.
I don't want to get in trouble.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.